So product rule, really simple, right? We have our f, we have our g. The product rule is the derivative of the first times the second, just the way it is, plus the first times the derivative of the second, right? So find your derivatives, and then really from there, you're doing straight up algebra 1, right? We are distributing and combining like terms. So just take your time and don't make silly mistakes. All right, quotient rule. Top and bottom. Quotient is the same thing but subtraction. So derivative of the top times the bottom, and then subtract the top derivative of the bottom. And don't forget you have the bottom squared, and that is the way it originally is, not the derivative. Once again, take your time. I will not make you FOIL the bottom. The only thing I would say is like 3 can come out of the bottom, right? So if you see when you simplify the top that a 3 could come out of the top, then you want to FOIL, factor out a 3 and simplify. But other than that, you don't need to FOIL unless it's going to help you. The chain rule is really the derivative of the outside. So they do it with like composite. So if I have an outside derivative and an inside derivative, an inside function, right? You're going to do derivative of the outside, and then you're going to multiply it by the derivative of the inside. Function here, my f function would be this guy, and the inside function would be the part that's in parentheses. So when I talk about derivative of the outside, get that out of the way for right now, I mean just deal with this exponent, right? So do 3, don't touch the inside, and then 3 minus 1, my new exponent is 2. And then derivative of the inside, well, that's just the derivative of what's going on right here. That's 4x cubed. And just like anything else, if I can simplify it, I'm going to. Like in this case, I can multiply the 3 and the 4x cubed. And that's going to give me a 12x cubed. You do not need to FOIL this guy out. Just leave him alone. All right, for trig functions, you are going to need to know that sine of x, the derivative of sine, if that is my function, then the derivative of that function is cosine. And then for the original function of cosine, you need to know that the derivative is negative sine of x, okay? Everything else you should be able to do, whether it's chain rule using that, or whether it is I give you tangent, or I give you cotangent, or I give you something like that, and you need to do the inverse using quotient rule, or do the derivative using quotient rule. This particular one is a chain rule. So my outside function is my sine. My inside function is 4x to the 5th, okay? So the first thing I'm going to take the derivative of is the sine. Well, the derivative of sine is cosine of 4x to the 5th. That's that derivative. And then I need to multiply it by the derivative of the inside function. The derivative of 4x to the 5th is 20x to the 4th. Typically, they will write that in front of the trig function. So like standard form here would be to say, well, that's 20x to the 4th cosine of 4x to the 5th. That's what that's going to look like. But that's all you have to do for those. So when you do the derivative of tangent, when you learn this one, if you don't already have it memorized, the derivative of tangent is secant squared, right? So if you already have that memorized, it's exactly the same. So like for this one, it's tangent of 2x to the 5th. That would be the secant squared of 2x to the 5th times 10x to the 4th. Like, but I only made you memorize sine and cosine for this purpose. Prior to, like at this point, y'all would do quotient rule if you haven't memorized it. And so then you have to do quotient rule with chain rule, and we haven't actually done that yet. So if I give you a tangent or a cotangent, it's just going to be an x value. So.